Today we are going to talk about one of my favourite topics, and that is how your market temperature affects your sales numbers. So let's get straight into it. The temperature of your audience can tell you a lot about the number of sales you're going to make over any given week, month, quarter, and you can roll that up annually as well. Now, don't worry if you have only heard this term maybe in passing or have no idea what the temperature of your current audience is. It's okay. Let's start at the beginning and just have a look at what actually does the temperature of your audience really mean. So the temperature of your audience can actually be split into three main parts, and that is cold, warm, and hot. So when we break that down even further, the cold audience are those who haven't come across you yet, or maybe they've come across you but they haven't really seen or engaged with your content yet. So you're maybe tiny in the periphery, or not at all at this stage for this particular type of people or section of your audience. And number two is the warm audience. So those beautiful humans that are aware of you, they've seen your content, probably engaged with it, they've maybe visited your website or social media page or your Instagram profile, for instance. So they have an awareness, they're aware of you and what you do, basically. And then you've got the hot audience. So these are a percentage of your audience that have provided their email address to you, maybe in exchange for a freebie, a webinar, or something similar. They know, like, and trust you, and are most likely to buy from you at some stage, depending on your offer or services and the match there, or how they feel, the suitability is. So you might be thinking, great, Jem, but what if my audience is totally cold? How do I warm them up? How do I warm up a cold audience or a lukewarm audience to make more sales? So we're going to go into three main points here and three main kind of action steps that you can start to work through to warm up the temperature of your audience. So number one is research your audience thoroughly. So even if you think you know loads and loads about your audience, go and research more. The best way to warm up an audience is to serve them with, number one, content they really want to see. So this can either be content that solves their problems, helps them answer their questions, or maybe it taps into a need they have right now in their life or their business. So for example, if you're a social media manager for new coaches, they might be unsure of how to get more followers on their account as a new coach, right? And this is something that you can help them with via your content, or direct them to resources and tools that you have that can start to answer some of those questions and really provide value to them, so that they can utilize the power of Instagram, Reels, for instance, to start to grow their reach, or whatever it is that what process you're taking them through to help them reach their goal. So make sure that your content is speaking to your people, your peeps. If it isn't, go through and review your insights and have a look at what is performing, what isn't performing. Also have a look at the market in general. What type of content is performing for other people, for your competitors. Just benchmark yourself in the market. How are you doing right now? And be honest, because if you aren't doing so great, you can always improve. There's always more research to do. You can speak to people in your audience until you can really get that aligned in terms of the content, and sometimes that takes time and a lot of trial and error and testing. Don't be afraid to test as well. So next point to kind of start to warm up your audience here is to use a lead tracking practice. So at least once a week, you want to be building out your audience relationships and taking those relationships from cold to warm and hot. So if you aren't interacting with people at all, you either need to start putting in a practice for yourself weekly, or you can outsource this task to an engagement strategist that can help you reach out to the right people. So you can do this on a nurture platform like Instagram, where people can get to know you via stories. They can really feel like they get a bit of your personality. They can see what your brand is about and how you help people. They can get educated via your posts, and they can interact with you via comments and DMs. So Instagram really is a great nurture platform, whereas some of the other platforms like Pinterest And TikTok are great for driving traffic, but not necessarily so great for nurture, because the behavior on those platforms, people are used to leaving those platforms. For Pinterest, for instance, people are used to going on that platform and then clicking on links and leaving that platform. That's okay, they don't mind that. Whereas on Instagram, people really want to stay on Instagram when they're on there, and that's the perfect place. You've kind of got a captive audience to nurture, right? So it might sound a little unnatural tracking your relationships and bringing them forward with a simple lead tracker or CRM, customer relationship management system. But actually it is the ultimate show of respect for your clients. We can't hold all this data about people in our head, right? All these connection points, things they like, things they dislike, things you discussed with them last Tuesday or last year even, So we need to be able to track that, when their birthday is, what their pet's called. All these little details attribute to how you build a relationship with someone, and the more you can remember about someone and make them feel special really, really is going to help you sell more as a byproduct. So you've got to really pay attention to people and have a vested interest in them long term as well, even if they don't buy from you. So the information that you can store on your CRM, it's relationship building material, right? And it's about how you're making others feel. We want to show people that we truly care about them, because hopefully you do. Human-centric sales is something that should always be close to your heart as a business owner. We always want to act with integrity, we want to act ethically, and we want to care about people. And those are some of the core pillars of the success method that I help support my clients with. And, it really is the core foundational pieces that drive my business forward as well. And it should be how we're selling as well. Because when you sell that way, and you care about people, things come back to you. Sales doesn't feel icky, sales doesn't feel gross. Sales feels really good, and that is what we want as business owners. We want to enjoy what we're doing. So the final thing here to start to warm up your audience, what you can do is run campaigns or use lead magnets to build up your email list, where you can plug these in to an automated email sequence, for instance, to offer more value for your inner circle and let people get to know you a lot more. So 3 main things you can do there to start to warm up a cold audience. So in summary here, if you really want to warm up your audience, there's 2 main things to focus on to start. If you're like, oh God, I can't do all that, Jen, where do I start? 2 main things you want to start with and make sure you're putting out consistently and put a system around these things is, number 1 is content creation. You'll need to work on implementing content creation and scheduling system that works for you. I've tried out a lot. I know a lot of people have tried out a lot of different things, and sometimes things that work for other people aren't what work for you. So don't be afraid to just find your own system and find what works. The key is to be able to get things out consistently on your own timeline, and be really happy with what you're putting out there as well, and just constantly assessing it and improving it. And so that is the number 1 thing. And number 2 is a lead gen and prospecting system. You really, really need to pair this with your content creation system. If you get these 2 things together, that's where the magic happens, okay, when it comes to sales. So if you can set up a system where you're building and developing your relationships over time, you'll start to create your 360-degree ecosystem, sales ecosystem for yourself. And that is where your business can explode, because you have done this incremental activity that all of a sudden builds on itself and can, explode into these kind of, great results all at one time. Your business could have been going like this, and then it suddenly shoots up because you've been doing the right systems consistently over time and the right kind of sales activity and marketing activity. So if you guys, as always, if you have questions, please drop me a comment here or a DM on Instagram linked below, and I will speak to you guys very soon.